In this video, we'll be taking a look at one NHL game happening on May 18, 2023, and providing you with a free team pick and total pick for this game, so 2 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on this one NHL game after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Florida Panthers versus Carolina Hurricanes. The Florida Panthers faced the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. The Panthers were the final team to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, but upset the President's Trophy-winning Boston Bruins and then upset the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Hurricanes won the Metropolitan Division and reached the conference final by defeating the New York Islanders in 6 games and the New Jersey Devils in 5. The Panthers looked to pull off the upset, while the Hurricanes looked to win on their home ice, and with both teams hoping to reach the Stanley Cup final for only the second time in franchise history, Game 1 looks to be a great one. The Florida Panthers were able to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in 5 games in their last series, and they are looking very dangerous right now. Florida also beat Boston in the first round of the playoffs. The Panthers struggled on defense at times this season, but they only allowed 2 goals per game against Toronto. Matthew Tkachuk has led the Panthers this postseason with 5 goals, 11 assists, and 35 shots on goal, while Carter Verhaeghe has added 5 goals, 7 assists, and 31 shots. Sergei Bobrovsky is 7-2 this postseason with a 2.82 goals against average and a .918 save percentage. The Carolina Hurricanes defeated the New Jersey Devils in 5 games in their last series. The Hurricanes dominated games 1, 2, and 4 and outscored the Devils by a total of 17-3 in those 3 games. Carolina defeated the New York Islanders in 6 games in the first round. Sebastian Aho has led the Hurricanes this postseason with 5 goals, 5 assists, and 24 shots, while Jordan Martinook has added 3 goals, 7 assists, and 30 shots on goal. Frederik Andersen is 5-0 this postseason with a 1.8 goals against average and a .931 save percentage for Carolina. Florida is 7-1 in their last 8 games and 7-3 in their last 10 Thursday games. The under is 5-0 in Florida's last 5 games. Carolina is 42-15 in their last 57 home games and 36-15 in their last 51 Thursday games. The under is 5-1 in Carolina's last 6 Thursday games. Florida is 5-2 in these 2 teams' last 7 head-to-head meetings. The Florida Panthers travel to Carolina to take on the Hurricanes in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals on Thursday. The Panthers have been able to get past the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs and have done so with some great goaltending, while the Hurricanes have reminded the entire league that they are a real threat to win the Stanley Cup despite not having Andrei Svechnikov or Max Pacioretty. The most important question is, can they secure a win in Game 1? The Hurricanes have been very good statistically on both ends of the ice through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. They've scored the 4th most goals in the playoffs, averaging 3.64 goals per game on an average of 33.3 shots per game. Florida's been decent on both ends of the ice these playoffs, but statistically haven't been all that fantastic. They've scored an average of 3.33 goals per game, the 8th most of the 16 teams that made the playoffs, on an average of 31.7 shots per game. Defensively, Carolina has the edge as well. The Canes are the best defensive remaining team in the playoffs. They've allowed just an average of 2.55 goals per game, the 2nd fewest of any teams that made the playoffs, on an average of 27.8 shots allowed per game. Their penalty kill has been elite, killing off 90% of their penalties, the best of any of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. Defensively, the Panthers have allowed an average of 3.08 goals per game, the 7th fewest of the teams that made the playoffs, on an average 35.3 shots allowed per game, with incredible performances from Sergei Bobrovsky bailing them out. They've struggled on the penalty kill at just 65.8%, the 4th worst of teams that made the playoffs. Frederik Andersen is 5-0 in the playoffs with a 1.8 goals against average and a .931 save percentage. Carolina is good at playing defense and limiting shots, but even when the opposing team has a chance to score, they can't get much past Andersen. In their last series, New Jersey had some very talented players, but they couldn't generate any sustained pressure in the offensive zone. Florida may be the surprise of the playoffs and deserves a ton of credit to this point, but the Panthers are going up against a great penalty kill and a team with the second best goals against per game record. Carolina is getting a decent amount of offensive from all four lines, which makes it hard for opposing teams to shut down any one line or player. Sergei Bobrovsky has been elite to this point, but he could falter at any time. So the Carolina Hurricanes money line is our full game side pick. The total for this game opened at 6 but could drop to 5.5 before puck drop. It should shock no one to see the total slip when you take into consideration just how good defensively both teams have been. Florida was able to contain Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and the rest of the Maple Leafs, while the Hurricanes held the Devils to 1 goal in 3 of their 5 games. This is likely to be a defensive battle, but there's still some risk on both sides. Sergei Bobrovsky has been great in the playoffs, posting a 7-2 record with a 2.82 goals against average and a .918 save percentage, but he may be due for some negative regression, and it could come in this series. The Panthers in the playoffs have been very successful at slowing down an elite top line and a very good secondary line. However, Carolina has 4 lines that can do some damage, so it's not going to be a simple task of just shutting down the opposing team's top players. On the flip side, the Hurricanes are 4th in the playoffs in goals per game despite missing 2 elite players in Andrei Svechnikov and Max Pacioretty. I don't expect them to slow down. Their power play could use some work, but they are still a very effective 5-on-5 team. There is some risk here, but I don't expect both teams to just open up in Game 1 and play back and forth hockey. With the fantastic goaltending of Sergei Bobrovsky, every single game in the Panthers' second-round series against the Maple Leafs stayed under. On the other side, the Hurricanes have been elite defensively in these playoffs and are the best team on the back end of the 4 remaining in the conference finals. They've allowed just an average of 2.55 goals per game, the second fewest of any teams that made the playoffs, on an average of 27.8 shots allowed per game. Their penalty kill has been elite, killing off 90% of their penalties, the best of any of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. Both teams have great offenses that can easily make this game a high-scoring one. However, the Hurricanes have been led by their defense, and both defensive units look to step up and make Game 1 a low-scoring one. The Panthers should limit the Hurricanes' offense with Brandon Montour, Gustav Forsling, and the rest of the defensive unit creating turnovers in the defensive zone and limiting shots on the net, allowing goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky to make plenty of big saves. The Hurricanes, who have only allowed 3 goals in the last 2 games, should eliminate and potentially shut out the Panthers' offense with Brent Burns, Jakob Slavin, Brady Skjei, and the rest of the defensive unit forcing turnovers in the neutral zone and the defensive zone, while goaltender Frederik Andersen blanks the shots on the net. This will be a tight, low-scoring game from start to finish with both defenses stepping up. I expect the trends to continue as these teams compete in the Eastern Conference Finals. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.